In this demo, you will learn how to sew closed-ended darts. For this demo, we're going to do closed-ended darts. So we've already done open-ended darts, where basically it was like half of a triangle. This one is closed. They're closed at both ends, the top and the bottom. All right. There's one that has a little more fit, as you can see here, and then there's one that just doesn't have as much fit. Okay. These are usually found in the waist on garments, most likely women's garments. So you'll notice here there's a punch hole circle at each of these points. We want to mark those. Okay. So since demo, we're just going to use our red pencil. You can use whatever you'd like, a pencil. In a garment, a finished garment, if you want to do this, you'd probably do Tailor Tacks. Okay, they're all marked. Let's remove our pattern. This is template number 13, by the way. All right, and you're just cutting one layer. Okay, now you can see those points. I'll circle them all so they show up a little better, hopefully. That's one dart, and here is the other one that has more fit. Now on these, just like on the other darts, we're going to mark out the side that we're going to stitch. Okay, remember that our darts get folded in half, and we only see one side that we stitch on. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with these. We don't need to mark both sides, just to mark the side that we stitch on. If you're not sure which side you're going to stitch on, fold the dart out as if you're going to stitch it, hold it like you would at the sewing machine, and you'll know, oh, I need to mark out this left side of the dart. Okay, so again, when we sew a dart, just like with open-ended darts, we never start at the point of the dart and come towards the center or the top. We always start at the center and work our way to the point. So I'm going to mark by connecting these two dots right here, all right, and then down to this point here. Same thing on this dart. I'll be sewing on the left side first. So I'm going to mark from the center point down to the dart tip. Okay. Just mark it there so I know exactly where my tip is. Then we're going to fold our dart in half to stitch it. Okay. Because I want these points to line up, what I like to do is take a pin and I put it through these points. Now it's almost impossible to get everything to line up perfectly when you're stitching this. Again, that's why I only mark one side. So I'm going to pull those pins through, and that gives me a little bit of accuracy. Now, find the tip of your dart, and make sure it's right on the crease, and also on the top edge. Find the tip. Okay. Now you can crease it like so, if it helps. I like to crease it. And then let's just put a pin in to hold it in place for now. And I'm going to do the same thing to this other dart. Okay, so this doesn't have as much fit. There's only 2 points in the center here we need to mark or match up. So through there and through there. Pull that pin through. Then find the 2 tips of your dart. One right here and the other right here. Give it a good crease and pin through. Hold it in place. And now we're ready to go to our sewing machine. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at our center and we're going to stitch down. And remember, at the tip of the dart, we don't back tack. We're about a ½ inch to 1/4 inch away. What we're going to do is lower our stitch length, and we can either stitch off, or we can stitch and tie a knot, or we can take a needle and thread and stitch it up with our needle and thread through the sealants of the dart. I'm just going to stitch off because it's the quickest and easiest, and it works just fine. So, put your needle right down, okay, into the tip. I don't know if we can really see. I'm putting it right into the tip, or in the center point of that dart. Okay? Now, I'm going to take a couple stitches forward and back tack. There we go. And continue stitching right down towards the tip of your dart. Okay, you're about a ½ inch, 1/4 away. Stop stitching and turn your stitch length down. I'm going to 1 on my machine. And just stitch right off. So that loops it all around, and it pretty much just ties it off for you. Okay, now reset your stitch length to a regular construction stitch, which on my machine is 2 1/2. Okay. So this is where I stitched, and I came down to there. Now I'm going to flip this over, because again, I'm not going to stitch from my tip down here. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to start here and stitch down there. So I'm going to mark the dart on this side now. Make sure you can see my tip here. So there's my center mark right there. I'm going to connect that to the dart tip. I drew a line from there to there. Now when I start stitching, I'm actually going to start about a ½ inch into where I've already stitched. And I'll back tack and stitch, and then I'll get to this point. I'll put my needle down, turn so I angle towards my tip of my dart, and then stitch off like I did before. So here we go. So I'm lining up about a ½ inch up into my already stitch, where I've already stitched. Foot down, needle down, back tack, and now stitch. Okay, I'm at that point of contour on the dart, right there. I need one more stitch, I think, to be there. There we go. Now I'll lift my needles down, I'll lift up my foot, turn. Okay, put your foot back down, and now stitch right towards the edge. About a ½ inch, 1/4 inch away, stop, turn your stitch length down to about 1, and just stitch right off. There we go. And make sure you reset to your normal stitch length. Okay. Let's cut away. Alright, so there we go. You could see where I overlapped my stitching when I did that second row and just came down and off. Okay, so let's do our other dart now. This is exactly the same. Alright, so instead of 2 points of one point of contour, instead of 1 point of contour, we have 2. So I come straight down and then angle out. I'll start here and I'll back tack and I'll continue on. So it's just like the other dart. So get your needle down right in that point. This is right in there. Make sure you're on a construction stitch. A couple stitches forward and back to back tack it. Come down to that first point where my dart starts to angle in. Needle down, foot up. Move your garment so that it's angled towards the tip of the dart and continue stitching. Continue stitching. Now I'm about a 1/4 inch away. Go down to a smaller stitch length and stitch right off. Okay. And clip. And get rid of your tails up here. And now let's do the other side. I'm going to flip it. So there it is. All done. Let's flip it to the other side and mark out here our stitching line. So we've already stitched through both our contour points. So we only need to mark from this upper one or this lower one to the tip of our dart. is. Let's take that pin out. So now we're going to do is start stitching right here, about a 1/2 inch away from where we began stitching before. Overlap those stitches and we'll back tack and then come down and off. So make sure you have a construction stitch. Put your needle down. Okay, back tack there. Stitch. When I get to that first point, that's where I'm going to turn. Put my needle down, lift up my foot. Change the angle so I'm coming down towards the tip of my dart. And stitch. Okay, about a 1/2 inch away, I'm going to shrink my stitch length and I can stitch right off. It's good. And cut tails. And there it is. All stitched. Okay, you can see where I overlapped right there. So this is what it looks like so far. It's the wrong side, and here's the right side. You can see the contour it created. Just like on open-ended darts, we want to press these towards the center. Okay? Now, typically, you just press them over, and you're really going to have to hold it. So I like to get the edge of my dart here. And I'm going to just press it over. I'm going to pull my fabric here in 2 different directions as I press it because I don't want to get any folds or creases in there. You can see like that. Flip it to the side to make sure I get that point nice, clean. Alright, now the problem with this is that dart's pulling on itself. It wants to come apart like this. But I can't because that's seam allowance. Now in industry these will probably just be overlocked. Okay, if you're lining your garment, what you can do is clip. I like to clip it right at the points where the contour is. And then what I would do is cut down the crease of the dart as far as I can go. And then once I've gone as far as I can, I'm going to clip in right where I can't clip up any further and clip right to my stitching but not through it. And let's do it to this too. And in here. So again, go as far as you can go. And then once you can't get any further, just clip right down to your stitching. Now, this part that I couldn't clip any further in, I'll press to the center, and the rest of it you can press open. And this will make it so it's not pulling on itself so much and give you a much nicer, cleaner contour. Okay. Now you can only do this if you're lining your garment so nobody sees this. Again, if I wasn't lining it, what I would do is I would overlock as much seam allowance as I could off that dart. Okay, so there it is, a nice clean, closed-ended dart. Okay, here's the other one that doesn't have as much contour. Same thing, typically you're just going to press it towards the center. Okay, if you're not lining it, you don't want to have unfinished edges in your garment, so you just press it over like that. Again, not great because this wants to pull apart. Okay, so if you are lining it, what I would do is I'd clip right to the center. Okay, where it starts to angle out, and then trim right up that crease until you can't trim up anymore, and clip right to your stitches. At the point you can't trim anymore, and do the same thing on this side. As far as I can, and right down to my stitches. Okay, and then again, press that part that's not trimmed open towards the center, and then press open the rest of that seam allowance, like so. I'll flip this and press that towards my center, and press this rest of the seam allowance open like so. Sometimes it takes a press from the right side to get it really nice. So there is my closed-ended darts. That's what the wrong side looks like. Everything's pressed to the inside. And then here is the right side. That's closed-ended darts.